Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is June. So I just hit my first 1,000 subscribers in just over 5 months. I never ever expected this, so thank you guys so much for your support. So in today's video, you'll meet the meatiest ever vegan meatballs, guaranteed. As you can see, they look like the real stuff. They also feel and taste like the real stuff. You will not believe they're 100% plant-based. So I've seen so many ways to make vegan meatballs. Some use whole foods or vegetables like mushrooms and lentils. That's the healthy approach. I'm sure they're good, but I would call them veggie balls. And others use things like seitan, textured vegetable protein, or even Beyond Meat to really mimic the texture of ground meat. So today I'm going with the not so healthy approach. Well, it's definitely not unhealthy, but that means it's gonna be good. Extra meaty. Oh, by the way, I'm using seitan, so I'm sorry, it's not gluten-free. I'll make a gluten-free version in the future. So these are the ingredients I'm using this time. It's kind of a lot, but don't worry, I'll break it down for you. So this dish has 3 main components: the balls, the sauce, plus pasta if you'd like a full meal, and vegan parmesan. So for the sauce, I have extra virgin olive oil, some high-quality canned tomatoes from Italy, an onion, and 4 cloves total of garlic for both the sauce and the meatballs, and some fresh basil, and I have some red wine. This is optional. The sauce is very simple. Now for the meatballs, I have a cup of textured vegetable protein, or TVP. It looks and smells like cat food, but don't worry. What it is, it's just the protein from soybeans, and this is gonna give our meatballs the ground meat texture. So make sure you get this fine type, not those big chunky ones. And I have a cup of vital wheat gluten, which is the protein from wheat flour. And I'm going to be making seitan, which is an ancient meat replacement mainly eaten by Buddhists. And that is gonna make the balls real meaty and chewy. Unfortunately, the wash flour method does not work for this version. If you don't have vital wheat gluten, then you can make my favorite vegan chicken teriyaki out of just all-purpose flour or bread flour. And I have some cremini mushrooms, some tomato paste, white miso paste, and some vegetable stock or broth. Now, I have lots of herbs, but they are optional. I have dried oregano, nutmeg, dried thyme, and the most important one, in my opinion, is dried rosemary. Finally, for the vegan parmesan, I have a mix of cashew nuts and walnuts. You can just use cashews, or if you're allergic to nuts, just skip this vegan parm. It's just optional. I have some garlic powder and onion powder, some salt, and nutritional yeast. So that is everything. And I have some penne. Now, I'm gonna start by making the sauce. Grab the onion, and I'm going to finely dice it. You can use red, yellow, or sweet onion, whichever you like. And I'm going to save half of it to go into the meatballs as well. Peel 2 cloves of garlic since I'm making 2 servings. And finally chop. All the chopping is done. Now get a saucepan, or just a pan. Extra virgin olive oil in. Heat the pan up, and add half of the diced onion. And you want to keep stirring it until it lightly browns. Then add the chopped garlic. Then add the canned tomatoes. I'm using these San Marzano style ones. Crush the chunky tomatoes and let all the juice out. And some of the fresh basil. This is gonna give the sauce the herby flavor. This is already smelling incredible. I'm going to add some red wine for some richness. Season with a generous pinch of kosher salt and black pepper. Then reduce the heat to medium-low or low and let it cook for about 30 minutes to an hour. Ideally, reduce by half. The longer you cook, the richer it will taste. I suggest that you make the sauce the day or night before if you can for more enhanced flavors, and it's gonna make a huge difference, I promise. Now while the sauce is cooking, let's make our vegan parm. Into a food processor, throw the nuts, about a cup total. They need to be dry, so you do not soak them in water for this. Now 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. This is going to give it the cheesy flavor. And B12, an optional garlic powder and onion powder to your taste. Season with some salt and just split the nuts and combine everything until it's fine. That is it. There we have the vegan parm. It does smell like cheese a lot. Because I have walnuts, this is also rich in B12 and omega-3. And we're gonna be using this for the meatballs and the garnish. And finally, let's make our vegan meatballs. I'm going to roughly or finely chop the mushrooms. I'm using cremini mushrooms. You can also use shiitake or king oyster mushrooms. Mushrooms are not only meaty, but also earthy. So they're gonna add some rich umami to the meatballs. And I'm also gonna get some fresh parsley and very finely chop it. Get a large saute pan, extra virgin olive oil in. Then I'm gonna cook the other half of the diced onion. Then add the chopped mushrooms. Season with some kosher salt to release all the water from the mushrooms. And you want to cook them over medium heat until they are golden and crispy. Mince 2 cloves of garlic and cook for a few more minutes. Now, when they're cooked, I'm going to add dry textured vegetable protein. You do not soak it in water beforehand for this, so make sure to turn the heat to low because you don't want to burn it. And just dump all of it into the pan. Next, add just enough vegetable stock to cover and soak all the TVP, plus a touch of red wine, and let the flavor soak into the TVP. Now bring it to a light simmer, gently stir and mix everything. Now it is super crucial to season it well to overpower the flavors of the soy and wheat for later. Add 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, a tablespoon of white miso paste, and tomato paste or puree. Melt and mix. Now the dried herbs, a good amount of dried oregano, a touch of optional nutmeg, dried thyme, and as I said, the most important herb, dried rosemary. The smell or flavor of rosemary is gonna trick our minds into thinking it's actual meat, because people love to cook meat with rosemary, so it's gonna trigger that illusion, if you will. Black pepper. Then I'm gonna let it simmer over low heat until the TVP has absorbed the liquid full of flavors and become soft. It's starting to look and feel a lot like ground beef. Also, look at the sauce. It's looking a lot like some delicious demi-glace sauce. You don't want all of it gone because you need it for the seitan. Now the TVP has softened. I'm going to remove it from the heat and let it cool down. Then transfer the whole mixture to a large bowl. As you can see, there's still some of the soup. Add some vital wheat gluten little by little to the wet mixture and the chopped fresh parsley. Now the gluten is going to bind everything together and firm up the whole thing. Then I'm also adding some of the vegan parm to it and combine everything together. Basically, you want to make a dough ball. Add more of the gluten flour. I had too much of the juice, so 1 cup definitely was not enough for me. I ended up using about 2. You should get something like this. Very firm and meaty. Now this next step is super crucial. Get a flat surface to work on and start kneading the dough ball super well for about 10 minutes or more. You can use a stand mixer because if you don't knead seitan dough well, it's gonna end up being very mushy and spongy. Not something you want in a meatball. Some of the TVP is gonna fall out of the dough, but that's okay, it's almost inevitable. You can put it in the marinara sauce. Now it's been 10 to 12 minutes. I'm going to let it sit at room temperature for about half an hour to an hour. You know, give it some time to grow its vitality. This is also a good time to preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius or 365 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to start forming our meatballs. Make sure they're all the same size so they're gonna cook evenly and look beautiful. Here I have 10 beautiful, fairly large balls. Now here's the exciting part. Let's cook our vegan meatballs. Here I have the clean saute pan, a good amount of extra virgin olive oil in. Heat up the oil over medium heat because you don't want to burn the balls and have them stick to the pan. When the pan is heated, place the meatballs around the edges clockwise so they'll cook evenly and you'll know which ones to flip first. Immediately roll them on the surface a little before they stick to it. Now you want to color them and caramelize them before they go into the oven. Flip and cook them until most of their surface is beautifully brown, just like these. They're looking incredible. Now I have the tomato sauce transferred to this baking dish. I'm going to get all the meatballs in or on top of the sauce in the baking dish. Pour in some extra red wine. I'm going to cook the balls in the wine. Cover the whole thing with a tinfoil and pop it in the oven to cook the seitan thoroughly. It usually takes about an hour. When they're almost done cooking, cook your pasta in generously seasoned water. I'm using penne. You can use fettuccine. By the way, Italians do not eat meatballs with spaghetti. Spaghetti and meatballs does not exist in Italy. When the pasta is about al dente, reserve a cup minimum of the starchy pasta pasta water, then drain the pasta. Get the meatballs out. This is smelling incredible. And look at our vegan meatballs. They're super crispy on the outside and meaty on the inside. I'm going to take them out. And get the sauce back in the pan. When it's heated, add the pasta to the sauce. You always want to finish your pasta in the sauce. You do not do this, alright? Just look at it, it's dry and sad. Add some of the starchy pasta water to the pan to thicken up the sauce and combine everything together. When the pasta is cooked, it is time to serve. Top with some of our vegan meatballs. And garnish with some thinly chopped basil ribbons. Finally, finish with freshly ground black pepper and a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. Sprinkle some of our vegan parm on top. There you have the meatiest ever vegan meatballs served with penne and super rich red wine tomato sauce. Alright guys, that's it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.